Yo, what is up, everybody? What is good? Welcome into the show. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles now. Chase Sr. here with you. Producer Chip producing the show as always. And no matter where you are or how you're tuned in, I greatly appreciate all of you for making today's show a part of your day. It is a beautiful Wednesday, October 22nd, heading into Week 8. Philadelphia Eagles will play host to the New York Giants, looking to get their revenge on the G-Men from that disaster debacle of a loss against the Giants a couple of Thursdays ago. And we have another loaded show coming your way. As you come in here, support the program. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. The more likes that we get, the more people who find the stream and the more fun that we'll have. Coming up here on the Eagles Now Rundown, Philadelphia making a couple of roster moves. Is Saquon Barkley all right? We're going to try to find out what's going on with this Eagles ground game. Last year, it was unstoppable, the best in the NFL. This year, it's been one of the worst. Is it a Saquon issue? Is he cooked? Or is it this Eagles offensive line? I'm going to answer that question here in a few moments. We also have some major Eagles trade buzz to get to. ESPN putting up a list of 25 of the top trade targets across the NFL going into the NFL trade deadline after Week 9, going into Week 10. And of course, Howie Roseman and the Eagles are linked to 7 of those players. We'll also do a mailbag, so start getting your questions in right now. It's very simple. If you want to talk birds, let's chop it up. Use the hashtag Eagles or send in a super chat. We're also going to do a shirt giveaway on the show. And here's how you can enter the raffle to win our shirt. If you send in a $20 super chat or Venmo, we're going to put you onto our spinning wheel and we'll spin that and pick the winner at the end of the program. So if you send in a $20 super chat, that's one submission. You send in another $20 super chat, that's another submission. If you send in a $20 Venmo, that is also a submission. So obviously, you could send your super chats in right here on YouTube. If you'd rather send me a Venmo, you can do that as well. The Venmo username is @Chase_Senior. You don't need the last 4 digits of my phone number. You can just bypass that and send that in, and we'll announce and choose a winner at the end of the show. Now, some of you might be wondering, Chase, what are you getting? So the wonderful folks at Howieluya LLC, yes, you heard that right, Howieluya LLC sent me a bunch of shirts. There's this one, which is Howie Roseman with that cut on his forehead and the cigar after he got knocked over and hit with that beer during that Eagles Super Bowl parade. That's one of the shirts. Now, I'm going to give this away in Kelly Green. Chip is going to show you himself because I can't. It blends in with our green screen. So the shirt that Chip is holding up is the one that we are going to give away thanks to Howieluya LLC. You can find them on Instagram, just Howieluya, how it's spelled on that shirt. They're giving away and selling all these shirts, and they're awesome. There's also this one right here, which is the Eagle Bird Wings with Howieluya written across the chest. This is also Kelly Green, but as you can see, it's blending in with the green screen. And then they have a couple of other shirts. There's the F Cancer shirts, double middle fingers with 2 Super Bowl rings there. There's also a pink one, double middle fingers with the F Cancer on the bottom. You can see that. And they send these shirts to you with all these logos on them too, with the Howieluya brand logo and imaging. Really appreciate them for sending myself and Chip some shirts. And you can check them out. Howieluya.com is their website. And then you can follow them on Instagram @Howieluya. So for our mailbag, again, get involved. Use the hashtag Eagles. Send in a super chat. We have almost 400 people watching live. 53 likes. Come on now. Get those likes up. Smash that thumbs up icon, like the video. Because if you're ready to talk some Eagles, myself and Chip, we're ready to go. I hope you're ready to go. Show us that you're ready by hitting that thumbs up icon, liking the video. Shout out to the recent commenter club, Frederick Fletcher, Token Moose, John Galt, Wayne, Angel, DM. Again, you send in a $20 super chat or more, you can get in the running to win our shirt that we're giving away here today. If you send in a Venmo, we'll also put you in that submission as well for our raffle. All right, segment number 1 is about to get underway. I know a lot of people have been watching this show on repeat. We're live right now. It's 2:30 p.m. Eastern, which is when we started our show. and we're about to talk some birds right now. Peter Thurman getting in the running with that $20 super chat. We'll get to that super chat after this first segment, but in the meantime, we're about to talk some Eagles as Philadelphia just made a couple of roster moves, and the official show starts right now. What'd you say? Oh, yeah. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up icon, like the video. 17 likes away from 100 likes. Let's get there. And with that, let's start the show right now. Yo, what's going on? Welcome into the show. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles Now. My name is Chase Sr., and no matter where you are or how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making today's show a part of your day. Another loaded show on the docket for today's episode, and here's everything that we're getting into. The Philadelphia Eagles making a couple of roster moves going into this big matchup against the New York Giants at the Link on Sunday. Is something wrong with Saquon Barkley? Why is this Eagles ground game, which last year was the best and most explosive in the NFL, one of the worst across the league here in 2025? And Jalen Hurts is putting up MVP-like numbers. You don't believe me? Watch what we're about to show you at the end of this show. Let's begin here, though. To all my real ones out there, yo, do you want Eagles coverage and content every single day year-round that's informative, insightful, entertaining, thought-provoking, where you have a voice? If that's the case, lock us in, hit that subscribe button, and as you can see, let's continue to grow the empire as we approach 135,000 subscribers. And let's begin here with roster move number one for the Eagles on this Wednesday, October 22nd. Philadelphia's opened up the practice window for cornerback Jahan Bennett. Of note here, the practice windows have not been opened up for Nolan Smith or Darius Cooper. So their status moving forward, still somewhat of an unknown. I would imagine with the Eagles having a Week 9 bye and then playing the Packers in Week 10, that's when Smith and Cooper could come back. But in the meantime, Bennett is going to be eligible to play against the Giants on Sunday afternoon in South Philadelphia. And I thought what Vic Fangio said on Tuesday was pretty interesting going into Wednesday. He said that he didn't think that he was able to fairly evaluate Jahan Bennett before his pec injury that he suffered against the Los Angeles Rams. That was a crazy win for the Eagles all the way back in Week 3, but in the two games prior to that, against the Dallas Cowboys, against the Kansas City Chiefs, Bennett didn't really play all that much. Then he played a critical role in Jordan Davis being able to scoop and score the blocked field goal, which ended the game in ridiculous fashion. And then right after that game, Jahan Bennett, who the Eagles acquired going into the year to try to bulk up their cornerback depth and maybe give him an opportunity to start, he went on injured reserve. And so he's barely played for the Eagles, and Fangio clearly wants to get a longer look at a pretty intriguing player who, with the Las Vegas Raiders, prior to the trade with the Eagles, had put some good snaps on tape with a pretty good sample size, even though he did deal with some injuries with the Raiders as well. So him being a little bit of an injury-prone player, I think is a little bit of a concern at this point. And Fangio mentioned that Bennett could get a long look at corner too. That could start as early as this Giants game. Adoree Jackson suffered a concussion against the Vikings, and Fangio said today he played okay. And then Kelee Ringo stepped in. He was able to make some plays. He also said Ringo and Jackson were sometimes the victim of some really good routes and concepts. I think all of us aren't dumb, right? We know that Adoree and Kelee aren't great options at that corner 2 spot, but I'm intrigued by Jahan Bennett. And this could be a good opportunity for Fangio and the Eagles to evaluate him prior to the NFL trade deadline. Prior to his injury in that Week 3 game against the Rams, in which, again, he went on IR right after that game, he only had 21 coverage snaps. And I thought it was a mixed bag, but keep in mind, still trying to learn this complex defense. He was acquired right before that final preseason game, if I'm not mistaken. Howie's already made like 5 trades. And when he did get action, it was in spot duty. And he didn't really have an opportunity to find a group. I did think at the end of that Rams game, when he was lined up across from Puka Nacua, he did a pretty good job. And Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford knew once he came into the game, they were going to try to target him. There was that questionable no call where he got the tug of Nakua's jersey on the out route. But a couple of things with that. We see that type of physicality at the top of the route all the time. And oftentimes, sometimes, those penalties are not called. The other thing is, that wasn't even a catchable ball. So I thought being thrust into action in a close game when the momentum of that game was going back and forth like a seesaw, Bennett did some nice things. And prior to him coming to Philadelphia, look at where he ranked among all cornerbacks in football with 450-plus snaps. 18 catches allowed in 2024. That ranked third in the NFL. 37 targets, tied for 10th. He only gave up 176 yards receiving. That was second among all corners last year. No touchdowns given up. That was tied for first. He made plays on the ball. Good instincts there. 9 pass breakups. That was tied for fourth. A quarterback rating, or QBR when targeted, of 62.4. That was sixth. He also did a great job of locking down Jamar Chase. When the Raiders played the Bengals and Bennett was lined up across from Chase, who I think is the top wide receiver in football, Chase only had 3 catches for 16 yards, no touchdowns, and Bennett had a pass breakup. He had 11 pass breakups in 11 starts in 24 games over 2 years with the Raiders. And the Eagles really liked him in the pre-draft process when he was coming out of Maryland, when he ended up being a 3rd or 4th round pick by Las Vegas. And we're talking about a really good athlete here. Now, I know that Kelee Ringo is a great athlete. His relative athletic score coming out of Georgia was really good. He is over 200 pounds, 6'2", ran in the 4.3s, but he can't really flip his hips and he can't really throttle down. I think that Bennett does a better job of that. But the Eagles do value the relative athletic scores. They have a lot of players who they've drafted who have graded out very well with this particular metric here. And they like premium athletes. Now, Bennett, not the tallest guy at 5'10", a $188, 13 reps on the bench. That's fine. I don't really need my corners bench pressing 225 all that much. What you look for, though, the vertical jump. That short area burst and quickness, which is what you need at the corner spot. That's twitch. 40.5 there. His broad jump, more than 11 feet. Elite. And then he ran a 4.3 flat 40-yard dash. Even better than Kelee Ringo. The 20-yard split, the 10-yard split, some of that short area speed, quick acceleration also showed up in the pre-draft. So, like Vic Fangio, I'm excited to see Jacorian Bennett get a long look to see if he can be the starting corner opposite of Quinyon, because I think the Eagles really like to keep Cooper DeJean on the inside most of the time because he's able to be so much more versatile there. But a reason why I do like a potential C.J. Gardner-Johnson signing, if a player like Bennett doesn't pan out, is what the Eagles could do is put Quinyon Mitchell on the outside, Cooper DeJean as the other perimeter corner. And if you want to continue to develop Andrew Makuba, who has been really rocky and up and down, and Vic Fangio even said it's been a little bit tumultuous so far, good moments and bad moments, you can still keep him at safety to keep that development going. Cost-controlled asset. He clearly has a lot of ability, a couple of picks so far. He's made some good plays against the run. In coverage, though, he's had a lot of lapses. But if you want to keep Makuba on the field, and you want DeJean to play outside, or Bennett doesn't work out, Ringo continues to struggle, Adoree Jackson continues to struggle, you put CJ GJ in the slot, and then DeJean on the outside, and you've got some serious playmakers at the cornerback spot for Philadelphia. And before CJ Gardner-Johnson got acquired by the Eagles, he didn't really play a lot of safety. 80-plus snaps there with New Orleans, more than 1,000 snaps from that nickel slot spot. And how about how Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean fared against Justin Jefferson on Sunday in Week 7? Cooper DeJean is a player who Vic Fangio prefers to play on the inside because everything that he can do. But when he did play on the outside, I thought he fared very well, including the play right here, which is pictured, of Carson Wentz throwing that back shoulder fade ball to Justin Jefferson. Jefferson goes up to get it, but Cooper DeJean, great technique, great ability to fight through the end of that play, dislodged it, and it was excellent. Superior cornerback play. And when Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean lined up against Justin Jefferson, 27 coverage snaps. That was 11% in man coverage, only gave up 2 catches for 28 yards and the forced incompletion on the touchdown. And isn't this crazy about DeJean? I found this out when I was putting together some data for the show and gathering some stats. Cooper DeJean has not given up a touchdown since he was in college at Iowa. And I was also reading the Zach Berman book, Leap Year, covering the Eagles' Super Bowl season last year. Isn't this crazy? Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean were the top 2 corners on the Eagles draft board. And both fell to the Eagles. Quinyon in the first round, DeJean in the second round. 2 draft selections, which has really changed the direction of this Eagles defense, considering how bad they were in 2023. And then another fun note from Zach Berman's book is that the Eagles had not drafted a corner in the first round since 2002, Lito Shepherd. That ended when they took Quinyon. The Eagles also had not drafted corners in the first 2 rounds since 2002, when the Eagles drafted Lito Shepherd, who became an All-Pro, and Sheldon Brown, who was an excellent corner. They formed to be one of the top corner duos in the NFL. History repeated itself in 2024, and once again, it's looking like the Eagles drafted 2 of the top corners in the National Football League as a duo. Eagles roster move number 2. Remember the name Sua Opeta? He has been signed to the Eagles practice squad. He is back with the Birds after a couple of years with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He was a product of Jeff Stoutland University, where he started his career with the Eagles, started some games, played pretty well, and then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers looked at him as a player who was ascending. Now, he didn't end up starting any games for Tampa Bay, but they looked at him as a player who could be a pretty good option along their offensive line. Now, it never really panned out with the Buccaneers because of injuries, and he just didn't see the field all that much. But this is notable for the Eagles because this interior offensive line for the Birds has been a problem. And it's been shocking to me how bad this Eagles offensive line has been to start the season when you factor in how many elite players they have, how well those individual players have played before, and the investments that the Eagles have made in those players. Yet, Landon Dickerson has not been good. Cam Jurgens was showing the aftermath of that back surgery. Now he has a knee injury. And Tyler Steen's been okay, but it's definitely a step down from Mekhi Becton. I also had a Chargers fan in my comment section on Instagram saying, you can have Mekhi Becton back. He's been awful for us. I said, send him to us. We would love to have him back because he's better than Tyler Steen. More on Opeta here. UDFA out of Weber State in 2019, the same college that Damian Lillard went to. He was with the Eagles from 2019 through 2023, then with the Buccaneers in 2024 and 2025. 10 starts with the Eagles. So they're bringing in a player who knows the scheme, has familiarity with the system, and familiarity with the organization. And I want to quickly pop up this chart, which ranks all of the offensive lines across the NFL, and where you see the Eagles is toward the bottom. They are in the lower third, the lower quarter of this list. And so I know that photo is a lot to digest. I simplified it for everybody. Look at where the Eagles' offensive line ranks this year in some really critical areas. Yards before contact per carry, 27th. Stuffed running percentage, 31st. Run block win rate, 24th. Pressure rate, 25th. Pass block win rate, 19th. This offensive line needs to be better. And if they do play a little bit better, I think it's going to go a long way in solving a lot of these offensive line issues. We're only getting started here on today's Philadelphia Eagles now. Still to come, after we talked about those 2 roster moves, is something wrong with Saquon Barkley? We're once again going to talk about that offensive line, and Jalen Hurts is putting up MVP numbers. We're also going to do a film study for a critical play that happened against the Vikings, which goes to show you the high football IQ of Jalen Hurts, just high-level quarterbacking. But let's get to our sponsor, our friends at PrizePicks, making today's Philadelphia Eagles now possible. This is the #1 fantasy sports app in America. Join the millions of users and sign up today at prizepicks.com/CLNS and use my code CLNS. Pick, predict, play. That's how easy it is with PrizePicks. You choose more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you can win some big-time money. You can get your picks in less than 60 seconds. And I know that all of you know ball, but I want you to show me. Turn your takes into cash with Prize Picks. Prize Picks also has a couple of new features. It's the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. For instance, against the Giants, do you want to pick more on Jalen Hurts' pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns? Now you can pick all of them in the same lineup, only on Prize Picks. You can also follow other Prize Picks players directly on the app and copy their lineups in one click, whether it's a friend, a celebrity partner, or just somebody whose picks you like. Hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on Prize Picks. Here's a 3-pick power play for Sunday's game. A.J. Brown, more than 65.5 receiving yards. Cam Skadabu, more than a half rushing or receiving touchdown. He had 3 against the Eagles back a couple of weeks ago. And Jalen Hurts, more than 208.5 passing yards. That pass game, I think it continues to stay alive. So download the Prize Picks app, use the code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. All right, let's move forward to an important conversation that we need to have here on the show. A big topic of conversation this season for this Eagles offense, what is going on with the Eagles run game? Is Saquon Barkley washed? Is he cooked? Is he feeling the effects of leading the NFL in touches in 2024 when he won Offensive Player of the Year and put together arguably the best single season for a running back of all time? Or is it this Eagles offensive line? When you look at Saquon's numbers here in 2025, it's crazy how down they are. And it's wild with how talented this Eagles offensive line is and how great Saquon is with the running threat that Jalen Hurts is, that this ground game and Saquon haven't been able to get going. He doesn't have more than 100 scrimmage yards in a game all year. 113 carries for 369 yards, 3.3 yards per carry, and 3 rushing touchdowns. You compare his numbers through 7 games this year to the first 7 games of last year. Look at the difference. 130 carries for 766 yards. His yards per carry through 7 games a season ago, 5.9, and he had 5 rushing touchdowns. To me, this doesn't come down to Saquon being over the hill or him declining. I think that he looks great. He has explosiveness. He has burst. He has pull-away speed. He's still really fast. Some of the jump cuts and the spin moves that we're seeing, we saw all of that last year. To me, the biggest issue with the Eagles' ground game is this offensive line. Plain and simple. They have not played well this year, and it's evidenced by them not being able to get a push, especially with their interior offensive line. So often this year, when Saquon has gotten a carry, he's met immediately in the backfield. And the data backs all of this up. I did some digging here. Yards before contact per carry for Saquon, 27th in the NFL. Stuffed run percentage, second to last in the NFL at 31st. Run block win rate, this Eagles offensive line, 24th. Pressure rate, 25th. Pass block win rate, 19th. And some really important numbers here compared to last year, the yards before contact per attempt. Last year on average, Saquon picked up 3.8 yards before contact. That means this offensive line was getting a great push. They were getting downhill, and Saquon was not touched for nearly 4 yards after his carry, right? In 2025, that number is down a full 2 yards. That's 6 feet. Easy math. And last year, his yards before contact total, he ran for 2,005 yards. 1,328 of those came before contact. And this year, the split's not good. 369 total yards, only 205 of them before contact. It's not Saquon. And maybe he can do a better job of taking what is there instead of trying to find the home run. He even admitted that. But oftentimes, he doesn't even have a chance because of this Eagles offensive line. Last topic that I want to get to here centers in on Jalen Hurts. And people have been unrelenting in the comment section here on YouTube, on my social media pages, long-form videos, live videos, shorts videos saying, Chase, you can't flip-flop. You were calling for Jalen Hurts to get benched. This is when I know that we live in a toxic social media TikTok era where people look for headlines and people don't actually read or listen to the content. because that video that I put out, which took off on social media, thanks to everybody who watched it, I literally said to start. I'm not saying that the Eagles have a quarterback controversy. I'm not calling for Jalen Hurts to get benched. What I was saying, a curiosity level of what this offense would look like with Tanner McKee because of some of the things that he does well that Hurts does not, piggybacking off of the Eagles' offensive struggles. The real ones know. I have been one of the biggest supporters of Jalen Hurts among all of Eagles media. I have gotten bullets thrown my way on social media in a verbal sense for me defending Jalen Hurts on X, on Instagram, and on YouTube. So for people to call me a Jalen Hurts hater, you have no idea who I am. You have no idea the content that I've done, and you have no idea what I've said, because I have backed Jalen Hurts since he was drafted by the Eagles in 2021. Look at my Twitter page. Search @Chase_senior, do the tweet finder, and put in Jalen Hurts. I'd say 95% of what I say is very positive about him, but he even admitted he needed to play better, which is why we had that topic of conversation. But I'll also say this. I know that Jalen Hurts has struggled at times this year. I think that sneakily, he is working himself into being in the MVP conversation. Eagles are 5-2, and a big reason for that is because of Jalen Hurts. And look at what he's done since week 3. Among all quarterbacks, he is third in the NFL in touchdown to interception ratio at 11-1. He is fourth in offensive touchdowns at 13. He is fourth in passing touchdowns at 11. Fourth in yards per attempt at 8.3. Fifth in offensive yards at nearly 1,400. Fifth in passing yards at 1,245. Fifth in passer rating at 115. And in Eagles history, he is the highest passer rating among any Eagles quarterback through 7 games at 108.9. And what I love about Jalen Hurts, how smart of a football player he is. And we saw that with the biggest play in Sunday's game against the Minnesota Vikings. Let's do a little bit of a film breakdown here, because in the biggest play of the game against the Vikings, Jalen Hurts displayed why he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL and how mentally he is so sharp and how he has such a tremendously high football IQ. This is high-level quarterbacking here. Remember, this is still a ball game here. Third down, ball spotted at the 37-yard line, Jalen Hurts in the shotgun, Saquon Barkley to his right. The Eagles could have run it here to try to continue to milk clock, force the Vikings to use a timeout, or they could go for the kill shot. And what the Eagles did here, as we know, go for the kill shot. And what you see here with Jalen Hurts circled, he is pointing to A.J. Brown, who is matched up one-on-one against Isaiah Rodgers. And this point faked out Isaiah Rodgers. Nick Sirianni mentioned this after the game. And as we go to the next slide, that Jalen Hurts point, Isaiah Rodgers thought, was indicating that A.J. was going to run a slot, that he was going to break in. And so Isaiah Rodgers got faked out. And as you can see, as A.J. faked the in cut, Isaiah Rodgers broke inside toward the number, toward the hash, thinking that Hurts was going to throw the in breaker. But as we know, A.J. Brown had a great head fake. And look at the position of Isaiah Rodgers there. Clearly, he over-pursued, and he knew that he was in trouble with the direction and the momentum that his body was moving in. And so with A.J., fakes on the in shoulder, gets upfield, Isaiah breaks toward the in breaker, throttles down, but by the time that he does that, he's beat. He's cooked. And so with the Vikings sending pressure, what Hurts also did was kind of drop back by himself some time and then throw off his back foot, and he dropped it right in the bucket to A.J. Brown. And it's because A.J. beat Rodgers, but it was the point that started it all that faked Isaiah Rodgers into thinking that Hurts was going to throw the in-breaker. And Hurts and A.J. faked Isaiah Rodgers out. And I like Isaiah Rodgers as a football player. He got cooked by A.J. and DeVonta Smith on Sunday. And I'm sure that made Howie Roseman very happy. Don't forget to give me a follow on X and Instagram, by the way, @Chase_senior. I'm giving you so much Eagles content here for free, and I'm giving you additional Eagles coverage on my personal social media pages. All right, couple super chats coming in. Peter Thurman with the $20 super chat. I'm all in and like this, John.
Yeah.
Listen to Peter. Hit that thumbs up icon, like the video, and Peter said he's all in because of something that we're about to talk about here in a moment. Joe Lord with a $2 super chat. Simple. Go Birds. Joe Lord, I love it. And then the Green Dream with a $50 super chat. Green Dream makes it rain. Appreciate you, my man. Be nice if we could trade for Bradley Chubb or Jalen Phillips to pair with Nolan Smith and Jalen Hunt. I agree. We're about to talk about some trade targets for the Eagles coming up here in a moment. And then I'll also answer that question in our mailbag as well. Whoever sends in a super chat, all of your super chats are going to be featured on our mailbag. Joe Lord with the $2 super chat. Can I get a Go Birds from the chat? Everybody in the chat, type Go Birds. For myself and Chip, you already know the deal. Go Birds!
Go Birds!
Thank you, Joe. All right, as for what Peter was referencing, let's get to that, Chip, and plug that before we get to segment number 2, as Joe Lord sent in another $2 super chat, and we'll pop that up here in just a moment. But what we're doing here on our live edition of Philadelphia Eagles Now is something very exciting. We are going to give away a shirt. So, thanks to our friends at Howieluya LLC, you can also find them on Instagram at Howieluya. We're giving away a shirt. Here's how you can win it. Send in a $20 super chat or a Venmo. At the end of the live show, we're going to spin the wheel and pick a winner. The super chat obviously comes through here on YouTube, but the Venmo username at Chase_Senior. We'll announce that winner at the end of the show. Now, Chip is going to hold up the shirt that we are giving away thanks to Howieluya. They sent us a few shirts here at Chat Sports HQ for me and Chip to wear. Chip is showing it because it's Kelly Green. And if I showed it here on set, it would blend in with the green screen. I have the black version here, though. And as you can see, it's Howie Roseman with the cut on his forehead from taking that beer can to the dome during the Eagle Super Bowl parade. And then a little bit later, there was that famous photo of his forehead cut with him smoking that cigar. Howieluya. What a tremendous name. What a tremendous idea from our friends over there at Howieluya LLC. And be sure to give them a follow on Instagram. You can also check out their website if you want to get some of their shirts as well. They have a couple of F Cancer shirts, and I love the design here. 2 middle fingers up with 2 of the Eagles Super Bowl rings. Available in pink, available in black as well. And then there is this shirt too. Keep in mind that the Kelly Green print is going to blend in with the green screen. But this is the Howieluya logo right there. So a big shout out to our friends at Howieluya. Visit them, howieluya.com. Follow them on Instagram, Howieluya. Simple as that. And support their small business. Ayo Twix, $2 super chat. How would you feel if Jalen called some plays against New York? So funny that you say that. Howieluya, F Cancer from Joe Lord, love that super chat. But with Jalen, he does take onus at the line of scrimmage. And Jalen Hurts does call plays, and he does have the power to audible at the line. He did this a lot against the Los Angeles Rams. He did this a lot against the Minnesota Vikings. And so he does call some plays throughout the ball game when he sees fit, when he sees or thinks that he needs to. And that's part of the high football IQ that I was talking about there. Joe Lord, $2 super chat. Alfredo Martinez for wins the Go Birds contest. I love it. Alfredo Martinez threw in a lot of Go Birds into the chat. I saw that. And then Joe Lord, another one. Credit Alfredo for the Go Birds sweepstake. Good stuff. We got the Go Birds sweepstake going on. We got the Howieluya shirt giveaway. Again, you can submit your name to win it with a $20 super chat, and then we'll get that sent out to you. $20 super chat, $20 Venmo, and we'll send that shirt to you.
We got one more segment and then our mailbag.
Yes, sir.
So be sure to get in that mailbag. Use hashtag Eagles, or got a good amount of super chats as well. If you did in a super chat, we'll answer your question at the start of the show. So far, we got those super chats. Got some good questions. Andrew Nathan, John Galt, Tankman, Trey Lasato, all getting questions in. So hashtag Eagles, send in a super chat, get on the show.
Kelthulu MTG. Washed and Cook are words not associated with number 26. I know not what you speak of. Well, I hope that you actually watched the show and listened to what I said, because I just backed up all of the data, presented you with all of the data, and showing you I don't think it's a Saquon issue. It's an offensive line issue. Joe Lord, another $5 super chat. Real content question. Jacorian Bennett off of injured reserve. I don't like Keeley or Jackson. Confidence level of Bennett coming out of injury. So, Joe, I'm not sure when you tuned into the show, but I talked about him for the first, 7 to 10 minutes of the first segment. I have a lot of confidence in him. I'm going to expand on this for our mailbag, which is going to be segment number 3 after segment number 2, which is coming up right now. So stay tuned for that, because I do want to have that conversation here. All right, let's move forward to segment number 2. Let's talk some trade buzz with the Eagles right now. This is Philadelphia Eagles Now. My name is Chase Sr. Thank you so much for tuning into today's show. There are so many fantastic and talented content creators out there who cover the Eagles. So many different mediums for where you can get your Eagles content on the web, newspaper, websites, YouTube, radio, podcasts. Anytime you decide to hang out here with me, I really do appreciate that. I do think that what we do here is certainly special. Coming up here on the program, major Eagles trade rumors from ESPN NFL insider Jeremy Fowler. The Eagles are linked to a lot of the top trade candidates across the National Football League. And speaking of that, the NFL trade deadline is coming up after Week 9, going into Week 10. If a team wants to make a trade, they have to make that move by November 4th. The Eagles do have a bye week in Week 9. Then they're on the road to play the Packers at Lambeau Field in Week 10. That's a big matchup, because right now the Packers are the number 1 seed in the NFC, despite having less wins than the Eagles, because they have that tie. They have fewer losses. And so that game could go a long way in determining seeding by season's end inside the NFC. And I also like where the Eagles are positioned with their schedule going into the deadline, right? They play the Giants on Sunday. They have that bye week. And so they're going to have a great opportunity to watch the tape against New York, gather intel, data, and tape from what has transpired so far this year to make a determination of what moves they want to make, if any, and which players to target in the deadline during their bye week. For Howie Roseman, he's not going to Cabo during the bye week. No days off for him. He wants Lombardi Trophy number 3. As for those top 25 trade candidates and trade targets from ESPN, these are the 25 players who are gathering the most buzz for players who could get dealt going into the deadline. And they're ranked from 1 to 25. Trey Hendrickson, Jalen Waddle, Breece Hall, Reek Woolen, Jacoby Myers, the top 5. 6 through 10, Mark Andrews, Chris Olave, Jalen Phillips, Alante Taylor, Jermaine Johnson. Logan Wilson, Michael Carter, Arden Key, Roger McCreary, Chigo Ogwankwu, 11 through 15. Arnold Ebikidi, Braxton Jones, Kingsley Enagbari, Russell Wilson, Cam Taylor-Britt, 16 through 20. And then the last of the trade candidates here, Kirk Cousins, Kyle Duggar, Jerome Ford, Christian Harris, and Evan Neal. And soon here in a couple of moments, we'll get to the players who the Eagles are tied to. As far as their deadline needs, I think pass rush in general is the biggest need for the Eagles. That could be at edge rusher. It could be at defensive tackle, although I like the situation there with Jalen Carter, Moro Ajomo, and Jordan Davis. But this pass rush needs to improve for the Eagles. I think that cornerback 2 is the second biggest need for the Eagles. Interior offensive line is up there. Tyler Steen has been just okay. Cam Jurgens is injured right now. Uncertain what his future is due to that knee. He's also been struggling due to the back. And Landon Dickerson hasn't played all that well. Now, the Eagles did sign former Eagle Sua Opeta to their practice squad on Wednesday. And so that serves as some offensive line depth. But if a good player is expendable and available, Howie Roseman will look at that player as a potential option. And then I'm going to throw in safety. I'm a fan of Andrew Makuba, and I think over time he can play very well and become a good player. This year, though, he has really been bad in coverage. The tape does not lie. The numbers are not pretty. And so I know that the Eagles signed Brandon Graham. Comes out of retirement. It's going to be year 16 for him at 37 years old. I know that he tore his triceps twice last year, but prior to that injury, he was playing at a very high level. Brandon Graham is not going to come out of retirement, start for this team, and be an every down player. He's being brought in because of his veteran presence, his leadership, his ability to stop the run. He can set the edge really well. He can still get after the quarterback. He's also being brought in as a rotational player. The Eagles are going to have him play anywhere from 10 to 20 snaps per game, and that's the need there. But that's not good enough for me. And I don't think the Eagles can just bank on Brandon Graham coming out of retirement, Nolan Smith coming off of injured reserve, and them being content with their pass rush. I really think they need to make a pretty sizable move to improve there, because think about it also in this way. It helps out the rest of your defense if you're able to get that pass rusher who makes your pass rush more consistent. There's also this. The NFC East is there to be had. There has not been a repeat winner in this division since 2004. The Eagles are looking to end that. Now, this Cowboys team is dangerous. They have one of the best offenses in the NFL this year, but they're 3-3-1. You're 2 games up on Dallas in the win column, and you beat them week 1. Jaden Daniels is out this week with a hamstring injury. He already missed some time with a knee injury. That was one of my concerns for him coming out of LSU in the pre-draft. He's a very small and slender player, so how would he hold up as a dual-threat quarterback, given that lack of size? At 3-4, the Commanders are playing the Chiefs this weekend. They dropped to 3-5, and the Eagles moved to 6-2. Eagles don't have to worry about the Commanders. I think the Commander season might be over, and I'm going to pat myself on the back for this because we talked about this going into the year. They had signed 30 players who were 29 years old or older. They're one of the oldest teams in football, if not the oldest. They won a bunch of crazy games last year, and oftentimes that doesn't carry over year. And so I think the Commander season might be over. And if the Eagles can beat the Giants to drop the G-Men to 2-6, their season is over from a playoff standpoint. And so the NFC East is there to be had with 1 game left against Dallas. You do play the Commanders 2 times in 3 weeks to end the year, but they're kind of reeling right now. You play the Giants on Sunday. The division is the Eagles to win. And so that's wide open. So too is the NFC. The Eagles have a wonderful opportunity to repeat as Super Bowl champions. That's the point that I'm making here. If the Eagles play any of these teams head-to-head, don't you have confidence in the Eagles here? They're going to play the Packers coming out of the bye week, so we'll see how they match up head-to-head. They swept them last year in 2 games. The 49ers, what Kyle Shanahan has done this year, is tremendous, but they're so injured, and I think the Eagles are better. The Eagles already beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they played, a C game? Eagles will also host the Detroit Lions a little bit later this year. That's going to be a huge game, but I like how the Eagles match up with Detroit. Give me Jared Goff at the link in cold weather. The Eagles against Seattle, I'll say this. Seattle's very feisty, really good defense, and I think they're a little bit of a threat, but I'd still take the Eagles. The Eagles have owned the Rams of late. I still like the Eagles over the Bears, given Chicago's lack of experience. The Carolina Panthers, definitely dangerous, but they're not ready to be on the same stage and field as the Eagles. And then you have the aforementioned Dallas Cowboys there at 3-1. So if you're Howie, you're like, the NFL is wide open. The NFC East is there to be had. The NFC is there for the taking. Let's make a move, go all in, and try to chase a second straight Lombardi trophy. Now, I'll tell you this. If the Eagles and Howie Roseman do make a move, I'm talking about it here on the show. Because anytime there's breaking Eagles news or big Eagles news, we dissect it and break it down here on the program, and that's a big reason why we're north of 134,000 subscribers. So don't forget to lock us in and hit that sub button. Now, coming up next, we already took a look at the top 25 players that ESPN put together as trade candidates going into the deadline. Which of those players are the Eagles connected to? We'll get to that here in just a moment. But let's get to our sponsor, our friends at Brunt. For those of you who watch the show and have been watching the show for a really long time, you know that I love woodworking. You know that I love tough, grinding jobs. I'm from the Philadelphia area. Just like a lot of you, I am a bring your lunch pail to work type of guy. That's my mentality. And I love doing woodworking. My favorite job growing up was mowing greens, fairways, approaches, and tee boxes at a golf course. I love that type of hard work because it's rewarding. And those long days are made easier with a comfortable pair of work boots. And that's why I've teamed up with Brunt. And we have a great deal. You can get $10 off your order when you use the code CHAT at bruntworkwear.com/chat. Choosing work boots used to mean sacrificing comfort or durability. If they felt good, they didn't last. And if they lasted, they wrecked your feet. Brunt thought that was BS. So they built tough boots that feel great from day one, no break-in, no sore feet, because people out there doing the real work shouldn't have to choose between comfort and durability. Brunt stands by what they make. You can wear these boots to work, and if they're not right for you, send them back. I don't know any other brand doing that. And you know why? Because that's a company that believes in their product. So the Marin boots are the ones that I have. Brunt was tired of the workwear brands out there cutting corners. We all work too hard to be stuck in uncomfortable boots that don't hold up. So Brunt built something better. Boots that are insanely comfortable and built for any job site. For a limited time, our listeners get $10 off at Brunt when you use the code CHAT at checkout. Just head to bruntworkwear.com/chat, use the code CHAT, and you're good to go. After you make your order, they'll ask you where you heard about Brunt. Do us a favor and tell them it was from this show on Philadelphia Eagles Now. I'm going to put that link down below in the show notes and attached to the pinned comment of today's Philadelphia Eagles Now. bruntworkwear.com/chat, code CHAT for $10 off. ESPN's top trade candidates. The Eagles reportedly connected or interested in 7 of those top 25 players. Here are the players who the Eagles are connected to. Trey Hendrickson, edge rusher for the Cincinnati Bengals. Riq Woolen, cornerback for the Seahawks. This is a little bit of a surprise, but we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Mark Andrews, the tight end for the Baltimore Ravens. Jermaine Johnson, edge rusher for the Jets. Michael Carter, cornerback for the Jets. Arden Key, edge rusher for Tennessee. And Cam Taylor-Britt, cornerback for Cincinnati. There are a couple of other players who also stand out on that list. One of them is a player on Kellen Moore's Saints, and that is Alontae Taylor. Alontae Taylor is a player who I like, who could help out the Eagles at a position of need because outside corner, opposite of Quinyon, is kind of unsettled right now. There's also this player, Jalen Phillips, the very talented edge rusher for the Miami Dolphins, who, when he's healthy, is a really talented player. He is recovered from that torn Achilles, but anytime you suffer an injury like that, it's obviously notable. Now let's run through what Jeremy Fowler said about all of these trade targets. First, with Trey Hendrickson. Hendrickson would be far and away the most attractive trade target if Cincinnati entertains a deal. However, a team source told ESPN, as reported on October 14th, that the Bengals have no plans to trade the former All-Pro. The interest will be there regardless, and San Francisco in particular considers Hendrickson an ideal fit. The Bengals' record is 3-4, and the team is in the thick of the AFC North race. All the more reason to keep its best defensive player. And I've long talked about Trey Hendrickson as one of the best players who the Eagles could go after. I know he's on the opposite side of 30, but this is a player who's been durable, who had 17.5 sacks each in 2023 and in 2024. I'd be interested in signing him to a long-term deal or at least a 2 or 3 year contract extension, and he'd make your defense better. Riq Woolen, another player who we've talked about here on the show, and I've mentioned him on some of my social media pages. Fowler on Woolen. Multiple league execs have Woolen earmarked as a strong trade candidate leading into the deadline. They've been wanting to move him for a while. One executive said he doesn't fit what Mike McDonald wants to do. Woolen would be best served going to a team that can utilize his man coverage traits. One potential hurdle to deal with, Seattle's other starting quarter, Devon Witherspoon, has had a difficult time staying healthy this year. Riq Woolen, really interesting player. He's 6'4", and he ran a 4.2, 4.3 in the pre-draft process. He actually tied with C.J. Gardner-Johnson for the NFL interceptions co-leader back in 2022 with 6. He has struggled a little bit since then, but I think that he would be a really good fit for Vic Fangio and a player who's young with a lot of upside. Jeremy Fowler on Mark Andrews here. The 3-time Pro Bowler is a tried and true Raven, and Baltimore is still holding out faith that it can make a playoff run despite the 1-5 start. But shipping pass rusher Odafe Owe to the Chargers surprised many around the league, and the franchise seems open to at least evaluating the future of key veterans. Andrews is making $11 million in the final year of his deal, and tight end Isaiah Likely is also set to hit free agency, probably forcing the Ravens to make some sort of action at the position eventually. Andrews has been one of the best tight ends in football for a long time. He's a really good blocker. I think why the Eagles could be interested here, Grant Calcaterra, oblique. He's been injured and out over the last couple of weeks. He's a bad blocker. Mark Andrews is an elite blocker. So you put him and Dallas Goedert on the field, you can do a lot of stuff personnel-wise with 12 personnel and running it, 12 personnel getting the pass game going. He'd be a good complement and an excellent backup. The other thing that kind of comes to mind too, Goddard's in a contract year. Andrews is in a contract year. Could the Eagles look at Andrews as a player who maybe they want to retain longer than Dallas Goedert because Goddard's been injury prone? Fowler on Jermaine Johnson, one of my favorite trade targets for the Eagles here. The Jets are not desperate to trade him. Good edge rushers are hard to find, and his $13.4 million salary for 2026, a fifth-year option, is reasonable. But my sense after asking around is that New York would be more willing to part with Johnson than Will McDonald if it made any move at the position. McDonald is in the third year of his rookie deal, whereas Johnson is in the fourth, and Johnson has garnered a bit of interest thus far. Good reason for that. He's a really good player. Now, he, like Jalen Phillips, tore his Achilles last year. He's back, starting to round into form, but long-term upside for a young player, I think that Johnson's a dog. Corner, Michael Carter. Among all the Jets players implicated in trade rumors, Carter might have the best chance of actually getting dealt. My understanding is that there is interest in the slot corner. The Jets just picked up a corner in Jarvis Brownlee, who has acquitted himself well while Carter has missed time in concussion protocol. Carter is 26, could give a new team steady nickel presence. One obstacle to a trade is his $4 million injury guarantee that locks in on the fifth day of the 2026 league year, so the new team must consider that. Worth considering, and if the Eagles made a move for Carter and they put him on the inside, that tells me that Cooper DeJean would be moving to the outside. As far as veteran pass rusher Arden Key, Fowler with some insight here. The Titans are open to trading players who are in the last year of a contract and not in the franchise's long-term plans. Key fits that mold, and if pass rushing hunting teams strike out on big names, Key is a serviceable alternative. The Titans just lost rookie pass rusher Oluwafemi Oladeju for a significant time due to a fractured leg, so they might need to keep Key to offset attrition. Oladeju, good rookie out of UCLA, really good athlete. I liked him in the pre-draft. For Arden Key, had 6.5 sacks last year, a good veteran. He's not going to be that star player, but the Eagles just need guys right now in general at the edge spot and guys who can produce. Cam Taylor-Britt, interesting name at corner. Taylor-Britt was a healthy scratch Thursday night against Pittsburgh, forcing him to contemplate his immediate future. DJ Turner and Dax Hill have emerged as the Bengals' primary corners. Taylor-Britt has shown flashes, but he needs to up his 2026 free agency value. He could use a fresh start. Perhaps the Bengals will give one to him. His former defensive coordinator, Lou Anarumo, is now coordinating the Colts defense, which is depleted at corner. I think by now, the Colts are for real, and I think that they will make a move to upgrade their defense. They have Charvarius Mooney-Ward at the other corner spot, and so Cam Taylor-Britt could be an ideal fit there. If the Eagles want a rental, that could fit that mold. Azeez Ojulari was also mentioned in this article by ESPN as a trade candidate for the Eagles, meaning he could be a player who the Eagles trade away. Now, has a hamstring injury now. I'm not sure how that impacts his trade value, but obviously to start the year, he was a healthy inactive and a healthy scratch multiple times, which could make him an expendable player. And if a team wants a pass rusher, Azeez Ojulari has shown that he can get after the quarterback. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button here on Philadelphia Eagles Now. My name is Chase Sr. Thanks as always for your support, and we're going to continue to give you the best coverage right here on the show. One Omega Winter here. 3 rings for BG. Wouldn't that be a story? You thought that he was walking off into the sunset with 2 rings? What if he makes it 3? Then he just has to call it quits, right? I mean, he can't come back at 38 years old.
Nah.
That's an even better storybook ending than the storybook ending he had. Omega winner. Thanks for that. Joe Lord, another $2 super chat. Go Birds! We are $8 away from $100 in Super Chats, by the way. $8 away from $100 in Super Chats. We've had a couple of submissions come in, but this is your last chance. Last chance to win a shirt here on Eagles Now. Send in a $20 Super Chat or a Venmo. We're going to spin the wheel. We're going to pick a winner. You can also Venmo me at Chase_Senior. So a Super Chat of 20 gets you in. A Venmo of 20 or more gets you in as well. And then we'll announce the winner at the end of the show coming up after our mailbag. And Chip has that shirt that we're giving away. Thanks to our friends at Hallelujah LLC, we're giving away this Hallelujah shirt. Remember during the Super Bowl parade when Howie Roseman took that beard to the dome and had that cut on his forehead? Then there was that photo of him smoking a cigar. Well, Hallelujah made it into a shirt. You've got the eagle wings on there. That shirt is Kelly Green, if you can't tell. So Kelly Green shirt, we're giving that away to anybody who sends in a $20 or more Super Chat. It's going your way.
It's fresh, baby. It's fresh.
It's fresh. And check Hallelujah out on Instagram and their website as well. This is the black version of that shirt. And then I really like this one. I wanted to wear it during the show, but the print is Kelly Green, so it just blends in with our green screen. But that's the other one. And then they have the F Cancer double middle fingers with the 2 Super Bowl rings on there. F Cancer on the bottom. And then there's a pink shirt in that color as well, which is fitting because October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So our friends at Hallelujah sent us a couple of shirts. We're going to give one away today. Visit them, howieluya.com. Follow them on Instagram at Hallelujah. All right, last call for our mailbag. Get those questions in. Hashtag Eagles. Send in a Super Chat. Chip, how we doing on that?
Yeah, I think with the Super Chats we got, let's see. Green Dream with the 50 with a good question in there. Joe Lord asking a question in there. AO Twix. I think we're in a good spot. So last chance. Got some questions from Cool Rains, John Galt, Tankman, Trey Lasato, Andrew Nathan. So good stuff, everybody. Kane Angel, Eric Peterson. So I think we're good to go.
Awesome. Gonna throw on the Hallelujah shirt for this mailbag here.
He said, "What is Chase doing?" Hunter Esper said.
Kind of did that unannounced. Had to get the shirt on, man. Had to rep it.
All right, mailbag time.
Mailbag time. Live on the show. Let's get it. Last call to win that shirt. $20 or more Super Chat. We're $8 away from 100. So get those Super Chats in. You can also send me a Venmo at Chase_Senior. I don't think I've had any of those come in. None of those yet. But Brandon Graham just walked onto the Eagles practice field. Back rocking the number 55. How awesome is that? A lot of hugs for him at Eagles practice. All right, let's get to it. Mailbag coming up. I'm excited to answer all your questions, so let's do it. Yo, what is up? Welcome into the show. This is Philadelphia Eagles Now. My name is Chase Senior. I'm really excited to talk Eagles with all of our loyal subscribers and our real ones because we're talking all things Eagles every single day here on the show. And I always enjoy our mailbag segments because we open up the floor. You've got questions, I've got answers, and we all just have passion for the Eagles, which is obviously backed up by all of the support that we get during a show like this. Programming reminder, support producer Chip. He will be live for our Eagles-Giants watch party Sunday, Week 8. Eagles looking to get that revenge after losing to the Giants in Week 6 on Thursday Night Football. That was a debacle. Hopefully the Eagles are dominant against the G-Men at the Link on Sunday. Chip will be going live at 12 p.m. Eastern for an hour pregame show. Still going to be the same program, right? Live play-by-play, audience interaction, super chat giveaways. But support him. He'll be live. Then I'll be ready to do an Eagles post-game show in the aftermath of that game. Let's begin here with the super chat coming in from Green Dream. It would be nice if we could trade for Bradley Chubb or Jalen Phillips to pair with Nolan Smith or Jalix Hunt. And that's a good super chat that you send in there, and obviously appreciate the $50 that you sent into the program here. Bradley Chubb is a player who the Eagles have been linked to a lot. Vic Fangio is familiar with the player. He coached him when he was the head coach of the Denver Broncos. He coached him when he was the coordinator for the Miami Dolphins prior to coming to the Eagles. And so Bradley Chubb is a veteran. He knows Vic Fangio's scheme. Fangio has familiarity with him. The financial component to this could also be advantageous for the Eagles or a different acquiring team. Dolphins have one win. They're sellers. Their season is over. Mike McDaniel's lost the locker room. So I think they're going to trade away at least one player, maybe a few. For Chubb, though, what makes his name interesting, he has been a premier pass rusher at times. He's been a highly productive player. The Dolphins signed him to a big contract a few years ago. But of note, he's under contract for the next 2 years. He doesn't have any guaranteed money left. So if it didn't work out and the Eagles wanted to move on from him after the 2025 season, they'd be able to do that. As far as Jalen Phillips goes, he did tear his Achilles last year. Obviously, that's a little bit of a concern. He's an excellent athlete, twitchy, long, tall, highly productive when healthy. I think that he might require more as far as trade compensation, but I'd almost side with the younger player. And he's come back off that torn Achilles. He's played well, starting to round into form. But whether it's Bradley Chubb or Jalen Phillips, those are two players who the Eagles have been tied to going into this deadline on November 4th. I think both would make some sense. Ayo Twix, $2 super chat. How would you feel if Jalen Hurts called some plays against the New York Giants? I'd be fine with it. Why would I be fine with it? Ayo Twix. Because I've seen Jalen Hurts do this before. Jalen Hurts has taken onus of this offense. He's taken control of this offense. Now, sometimes I think that is a good thing. Sometimes I think that is a bad thing. At times, Jalen Hurts, in his football process as a quarterback, leans into being conservative. And he sides with being conservative because he wants to do whatever he can week in and week out to win the football game. And he understands that when you win the turnover battle at the NFL level, you win 70 to 80% of the time. But when he errs on the side of being conservative, sometimes that can lead to the offense being anemic, being vanilla, at times being a little bit predictable. Now, obviously, some of that is on Kevin Patullo. Some of that is on Nick Sirianni because they have and have adopted that similar philosophy. But it's also on Jalen. And I think inconsistency sometimes is a problem with Jalen Hurts as well. But when he plays like he did against Minnesota, when everything is kind of firing, as DeVonta Smith said and others, he has that look in his eye. He's surgical, and he is dangerous. And this offense looks absolutely scary. A.J. Brown, DeVonta Smith going off for more than 300 yards. The Vikings entered as the number 2 pass defense in the NFL, and Jalen Hurts cooked them, carved them up. And so at times, because he has control of this offense, he'll audible at the line. He'll shift things around. He'll make adjustments. He will call his plays. He did that a little bit against the Los Angeles Rams. He does that because the coaching staff has trust in him. And so if he does that against the Giants, totally cool with it. Because I believe in Jalen Hurts, and Jalen Hurts is elite. He's a top 5, top 10 quarterback. Joe Lord, $5. Real content question. Jacorian Bennett coming off of injured reserve. I don't like Keely Ringo or Adoree Jackson. Your confidence level in Bennett coming off of injury. I like the player coming out of Maryland. I liked what he did with the Las Vegas Raiders. He put up some really impressive numbers when he was with the Raiders. In 2024, among corners with 450-plus snaps, he was 3rd in catches allowed, tied for 10th in targets, 2nd in receiving yards given up, did not give up a touchdown in coverage that was tied for 1st. He had 9 PBUs that was tied for 4th. QBR when targeted of 62.4, that was 6th. Against Jamar Chase last year, gave up 3 catches for 16 yards, no tutties, and a pass breakup. And in 24 games, 11 starts with the Raiders, had 11 pass breakups. And if anybody out there is saying, he stinks, he can't play, we saw it with the Eagles. Barely got any coverage snaps with Philadelphia. And I thought what Vic Fangio said this week was very much of note. He said, we didn't get a long enough look at Jacorian Bennett. And the Eagles could get a long enough look at him as early as this Giants game if he comes back. If not, after that, 4.3 speed, ball skills, quick twitch, ability to flip his hips, which Kelee Ringo can't do. Those are all traits that I like for Jacorian Bennett. It's also physical. Trey Losado, with the news that Brandon Graham is back, when do we expect him to play? So Nick Sirianni was asked about that on Wednesday, and of note, I'm live right now, and so we're recording this mailbag on Wednesday, and some things could change over the next couple of days. Nick Sirianni said this about BG, who practiced on Wednesday with the Eagles. He could come back as early as this Giants game. Eagles might need him because right now they're extremely thin at edge, and it looks like Azeez Ojulari not going to be able to play. Sirianni said it's exciting. Obviously, his play speaks for itself. Great person to be around, great teammate. Really excited to have him. We will see how practice goes, but we have confidence in who BG is as a player and as a person. We'll see where he is by the end of the week and see what we got. But I have confidence in him just because he's done it for so long and has recently done it. It wasn't a couple of years ago. It was just last year where he played at a very high level. And that's exactly right from Sirianni. Last year, before the injury, BG was playing at a very high level. Good edge setter, good against the run. He got after the quarterback, and he had 10 pass rush snaps against the Chiefs in Super Bowl 59. I went back and watched those plays. He was very active. He pushed the pocket. He set the edge. He was able to move Patrick Mahomes off of his spot, track down Patrick Mahomes on a couple of occasions. BG can still play. He even said it to himself. He didn't really want to retire. But with where the Eagles were at from a roster standpoint, he's like, I'm not going to go to another team, so I'll just retire after I won 2 Super Bowls with the Eagles. More of your questions coming up here in just a moment. Let's get to our sponsor, our friends at Prize Picks, the #1 fantasy sports app in America. Pick, predict, play. It's very easy to play. Get your picks in less than 60 seconds. All you have to do is choose more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you can win some big-time money. And I know all of you know ball. I want you to show me. Show me by turning your takes into cash with Prize Picks. Prize Picks has some new features. It's the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. You want to pick more on Josh Allen's pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns. Now you can pick all of them in the same lineup only on Prize Picks. Follow other Prize Picks players directly on the app. Copy their lineups in one click. Whether it's a friend, a celebrity partner, or just somebody whose picks you like, hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on Prize Picks. 3-pick power play for Sunday. A.J. Brown more than 65.5 receiving yards. Cam Scatterbo more than a half rushing or receiving touchdown. Jalen Hurts more than 208.5 passing yards. That's it. Get $50 when you play your first $5 lineup. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code CLNS. $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Let's get back to your questions here. Tank Man, when do you think Nolan Smith will be back? I think it's going to be not this Giants game. Then the Eagles have a bye week in week 9. Then they play the Packers in week 10. I think going into that Packers game and for that Packers game, that's when Nolan Smith is going to be able to play. Now, long term, I do have some injury concerns about Nolan Smith. At Georgia, he was banged up. To start his career, he was banged up. He got a shoulder operation after his rookie year. He tore his triceps in the Super Bowl, then re-injured his triceps early this year. The violence that he plays with, the physicality that he plays with, I think is contagious for this Eagles defense. He does such a good job of setting the edge. He has bend, twitch, and speed to get to the quarterback. He's really an all-around player. Is he ever going to be a top 10 pass rusher in the game? No. Can he be in that George Karlaftis tier where he's a $20+ million per year player? I think so. Needs to stay healthy, and I think you'll see him back for that Packers game. He even put on Instagram on his story, I believe, 1 more week. So he's eligible to come off of IR this week, but the Eagles did not open up his practice window. Andrew Nathan, Chase, if Cam Jurgens is out, Drew Kendall should get a shot. He played over 1,500 snaps at Boston College, 83.1 passing grade, 72.9 run grade, and all that came in 2024. He has 40 games under his belt. Thoughts? All right, I'm just going to leave because Andrew Nathan, he's going to host the show from now on because he's bringing you next level insight. See ya. Andrew Nathan bringing the heat. How about it? He's digging up numbers and everything. So I'm with you, Andrew, and I know that you're a loyal viewer of the show. I talked about this when Cam Jurgens got hurt during that Vikings game, that I think Drew Kendall is the better player than Brett Toth. I think the Eagles go with Brett Toth to replace Landon Dickerson after his injury, and Toth at center when Jurgens got hurt because they trust him. And he's this long-term, gritty veteran who's been able to hang around the NFL because he's a smart player, he grinds and he tries hard. But from a talent standpoint, he's even admitted this, that he has to fight, scratch and claw to just make NFL rosters. And you see that he's a liability along the interior. Just gets pushed around because he's not strong at the anchor point. Drew Kendall, I'm very intrigued by. He has more than 30 starts at Boston College. He was a team captain. He has NFL bloodlines, which Howie Roseman has talked about valuing. His pops played in the NFL, and he graded out extremely well, according to Pro Football Focus. And during camp, during the preseason, the Eagles used Kendall at center. They used him at guard. And early on in training camp or during mandatory minicamp, Jordan Mailata was like, these rookie offensive linemen are for real. Drew Kendall is legit. I just think he's the better player at center than Brett Toth. And if Toth struggles, I think the leash on him should be short if Cam Jurgens cannot play. And if Cam Jurgens can't play, he hasn't been playing at a high level this year, but that'll still be damaging to this offense's potential because he's still a very good center. A little bit overrated, but he's still a very good center. Kane Angel, if you make a decision for someone to become offensive coordinator to replace Kevin Patullo, who would it be? I would love to see Doug Peterson come back to the Eagles as an offensive coordinator. See, I wouldn't be against having Peterson return, but not as an OC. And I think what you've seen from the Jags offense and how much better they've been from Doug Peterson to Liam Cohen is kind of an indictment on Doug Peterson. Now, obviously, Dougie was the head coach, not the OC. As an OC, he'd really just focus in on play calling and wouldn't have to worry about managing the entire team. I'm forever grateful to Doug Peterson. He brought Philadelphia the first Lombardi Trophy in franchise history. The night that the Eagles beat the Patriots and the aftermath of it, being at the parade during the game. I was in tears after that game. I never thought I'd see an Eagles Super Bowl. He has a statue outside of the link. He's forever an Eagles legend. But the dynamic of him being a coach who won a Super Bowl and being a head coach coming back as an OC, I think it's a little bit awkward. And then in a city with a lot of media pressure, if things don't really go well for Nick Sirianni, Doug Peterson being in the shadows is a little bit weird. As an offensive consultant, Kane Angel, I'm not against it. An offensive consultant, just him being able to lend his experience and maybe some ideas and some concepts to help out an inexperienced OC, that'd be cool. But as an OC, I really wouldn't do that. As far as candidates who I would like to replace Kevin Patullo, who I'm giving credit to for the game that he called against Brian Flores, who's one of the top defensive coordinators in the game. Hopefully the Eagles can build off of that against the Giants on Sunday. Mike McDaniel comes to mind. Awful head coach, has lost the locker room, but he's from that Kyle Shanahan tree. I'd be really intrigued by that. Another name that I was very high on a couple of years ago, instead of Brian Johnson, was Josh McCown. Josh McCown is the quarterback's coach for Minnesota. He's under Kevin O'Connell. He might even now be the offensive coordinator. No, he's quarterback's coach for the Minnesota Vikings. But that's a guy who's been around Kevin O'Connell, one of the top offensive minds, who I would also be interested in. Cool Reigns, going to the Giants game on Sunday. Any idea what to do or see there? Cool Reigns, Aussie, 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 oi, oi, oi. Are you in town from Australia? If that's the case, that's incredible. You got to experience a tailgate prior to the game. And the K lot is the lot right outside of the link. You just got to walk around the K lot. And I don't know how old you are, but if you can take down some beers with some people and just walk around to experience the tailgating atmosphere and environment, you have to do it. Now, there's the Jetro lot. There's FDR Park that you can go to as well. Any tailgate around the link is going to be electric. But people are going to be tailgating from the wee hours of the morning into the game and after the game, get there at like 8 a.m. for a 1 p.m. game and just walk around and interact with Eagles fans. And if you tell them you're in town from Australia, obviously that's going to be a conversation starter. Take some pictures by the Super Bowl banners outside of the stadium. Take a picture of the new Super Bowl banner inside the stadium. The Nick Foles and Doug Peterson statue is on the Citizens Bank Park side of Lincoln Financial Field. Obviously, you have to check that out. Inside the stadium, there's not like any attraction that I think is a must-see, but just be in your seat for before the game, right before kickoff, and just experience the vibes, the aura, the atmosphere, the buzz, the excitement, sometimes the tension. It's unmatched. Speaking of that game that Cool Rain's going to be going to, who you got? NYG for the Giants, PHI for the Eagles. It's birds all day. All right.
Boom.
Let's give away our shirt. Let's give away the shirt.
Let's get this wheel going. Last chance.
Yeah, no Venmos. So just what? Peter Thurman and then that 50 that came in.
Peter Thurman. It's going to be a two-man race. Peter Thurman and Green Dream. Since there's only two of them, should we do a duck race? One-on-one duck race?
We could. Also, how much did Joe Lord send in total supers?
Joe Lord is sending 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 17, $19 from Joe Lord.
Let's put Joe Lord in there.
All right.
And yeah, let's do a duck race. Joe Lord, Green Dream, and Peter Thurman. Let's do it.
All right. Someone's walking away with a shirt. All right, so
Let's
we're
see.
going. Peter.
Oh, Flipping the Bird 85 just sent in a 20.
Getting in there.
Flipping the Bird gets in last moment for our Hallelujah shirt. Sup, Chase, I'm back, baby. I bet Howie makes a move for a pass rusher after this Giants game. I'd love Crosby. Howie did go after Micah during training camp, but I'm sure it will be Jermaine Johnson, Bradley Chubb. Yeah, I think it's more of a Johnson or a Chubb. More of a Chubb. That's funny. I don't think it's going to be Crosby. Crosby would be a dream scenario, but according to reports, the Raiders have told him they're not moving him, and Crosby wants to stay with the Raiders, which I disagree with. He's wasting his career with them, but whatever. Flip the Bird. He's been a Super Chat MVP and a Super Chat legend for multiple years here on the show. Good to see him back. Profile picture with Brian Dawkins. How cool is that? All right, so we now have 4 names, right?
Yep.
4 names for our Hallelujah shirt giveaway for those people who sent in 20 or more. So let's race them, and let's see who wins.
All righty, in 3, 2, 1. 1 minute race underway right now. I don't know why Peter Thurman is the only different kind of duck here. The Spider-Man duck. Everyone else is just
Spider-Man
plain
duck.
boring.
I
But,
like it. Chip did not do that on purpose, but
No.
Peter Thurman, you're Spider-Man.
Completely random. But that's
Green
sick.
Dream, Joe Lord, Flipping the Bird 85. The other duck's in there. 20 seconds down. Peter Thurman with the slight lead. Almost halfway down. Who's going to win the shirt? From our fine friends at Hallelujah. Joe Lord now has the lead. Green Dream in second. Peter, he caught a little bit of a current. He's in third place. 17 seconds to play. Flipping the Bird 85 in fourth place. Here comes Peter. Is Peter going to be able to hold on? 8 seconds left. Here comes Flipping the Bird. Flipping the Bird now takes the lead. Can Peter beat him? It's Flipping the Bird. First place. Just beats out Peter.
Oh, man. What a race.
Peter, you know what I'm going to do, though? I'm going to give you a shirt anyway because we have multiple that we can give away. So Flipping the Bird, I'll get in touch with you on Facebook. We're going to send you the Kelly Green version of this Howie Roseman. Or no, it's the Kelly Green version of this. Chip showing it because it blends in with our green screen.
This one right here.
So
Hallelujah.
Flipping the Bird, we're going to send you that one. And then, Joe Lord, I guess fuck me, right? And then Peter, I'll send you one of these F Cancer shirts. You want the pink one, Peter? You want the pink one, Peter? Double birds with the 2 Super Bowl rings on there.
Pretty dope. How about that boy, Howie? Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Oh, Caleb Shield. I don't know why YouTube doesn't notify me of live shows. So here's what you do, Caleb. You have to turn on your notifications. But when you turn on your notifications, you have to hit all. If you only do one of them, it only notifies you when a video is pushed out. But when we go live and you turn it to all, that is live shows and regular videos.
Peter Thurman likes the pink shirt.
All right, awesome. Peter, I'll send you that one. Flipping the bird. We'll send you that Hallelujah shirt.
And it's October. That's perfect.
And it's October. There you go. All right, we're going to sign off. Thanks to everybody who watched the show. Thanks to everybody who supported. Chip, going to be live. Eagles-Giants on Sunday. I will do the post-game show. He will do the watch party. I got to do the Niners-Texans game, and we're just kind of splitting up our duties because for the only time this year, that's when they clash. So hope you all understand. I know the real ones do. We have some fantastic content to come all throughout the rest of the week and every single day because that's what we do. For Chip, I'm Chase. For the real ones, the legends, and the Bird Gang, we're out. See ya.